Well, it's good to hear the audio's working. All right, we'll try that. Hello, welcome in. So I thought we'd warm up today and make a few Turkish spindle shafts, and then I need to make some Russian spindles. So I got a few hours in this morning, and then we had to package and go to the post office. So we had lunch. Now it's time to live stream and try to get back into this. It does feel good to be back on here. So yeah, I got cat scratch fever a few weeks ago, and it really messed me up. So I'm finally starting to feel human again. And then last week we got hit with a pretty big wholesale order, so I had to focus on getting that done. We got a show in a couple weeks, so it's like trying to fit everything into this time frame. So we got some tiger maple arms. So we are turning hard maple. Yeah, it's good to be busy. Definitely is. Especially in the winter, there tends to be a kind of slouch in the bottom there. This one was very not straight. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, when they're that bent, it's a 50-50 chance. We're just going to add a little wax. So I figure we're going to make... I even tape that. Glue is the next option. So yeah, I plan on making probably about 6 of these, and then we're going to go make some supported spindles. I think we're just going to work on Russian. Which is just one piece of wood. Yeah, this morning I made a dozen top whirls. So this is called a story stick. It just has lines. And then you transfer the lines over. That way they're all the same. I made this cutout here because I use this test whirl. That way they will all sit in the same location on the spindle. Alright, we're going to burn on some decorative lines. I just have some picture frame hanging wire here. And the reason I use this wire is I have a lot of it. It will wear out and break. That's what happened there. is bird's eye maple. Oh, we are loving it here in Wisconsin. It's 39 degrees today. The snow's all melted, and I think we're not going to get snow for a couple more days. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Hang on one second. I'm having a blast. Okay, good. Sorry about that. My partner in crime was talking to me. As far as the finishing goes, it depends on the spindle. So the Turkish spindles, the shafts have wax on them, and then I used a mineral oil base finish on the arms. The top whorls that are made out of Baltic birch will be stained, but anything that's made out of cherry or any exotic wood will have. At the top whorl, it'll have more of a linseed oil finish, and then a lacquer over the top of that, where the stained birch ones get a glaze, which is more of a polyurethane on them. Yeah, like all these arms that I'm showing you, this is all pre-sanding, so they'll get sanded, rounded over, and balanced, and then we'll laser engrave our business name and then the weight of the spindle, and then underneath the business name is the wood type, so you'll know what the spindle is. And I do the weights in both metric and imperial. The really teeny tiny ones, I just go metric on it. If you say so. The arms are made out of, the arms on that one are bird's eye maple, and then the shaft is hard maple. I mean, I just got a bunch of stuff sitting here, so this is tiger maple. Hey Simon, how's it going? And then that's just maple, walnut, African kudzu. Then we got some red heart here as well. Which, once you put a finish on it, it gets much redder. Well, that one's bird's eye. And that one's curly. Yep, they're pretty. Oh, I got some curly white oak. That's really pretty. All right. And this is Bacote. It's also really pretty. All right. This one is very, very not straight. Look down here. So this one we'll cut in half and see if we can make 2 smaller shafts out of it. If not, that is going in my fireplace. Yep, so all those arms I'm showing there are cut on the scroll saw. So they're all handmade. So that one did not turn out, which is okay. Life happens. There's a lot of internal stresses in wood. Hello, hey, how's it going? Welcome in. We're currently spinning at 3,564 RPM. And the reason it's the max speed of this lathe. These are so small that you can use that speed. When I start working with bigger pieces of wood, I definitely slow the speeds down. And then I'll turn it down when we're sanding. So yes, I'm very blessed. I've been able to make these full-time for the past 13 years. It's a very niche thing, but I really enjoy doing it. Keeps me out of trouble. Alright, after this one, I think we're going to switch over. After this one, we're going to start making some Russians. Which are a supported spindle. Welcome back. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mark the center there. So we're just going to use the center finder. It's good enough for the girls we go out with. Bring this up just a little bit more. There you go. I think we got the whole thing in there. So we're bringing out the calipers. So this is the largest diameter we need. Take the roughing gouge and just start taking material off. Back this off, make sure it's going straight, which it is. Alright, so this is the shape we're aiming for. It'd make a pretty sucky baseball bat, but I'm not going to prevent you from doing that. So we're just blocking in the shape. We're not really going overboard on it just quite yet. Just kind of blocking everything in. Yeah, I appreciate it. Alright, so we're gonna go from the roughing gouge to a spindle gouge. Better finish, less aggressive. The shape does have a purpose. When you're spinning it, I'll spin a little bit on this one when it's done. But yeah, you want it to have a smaller tip on the end. That way it's the rotation is spinning faster. So you use the very end of it to actually spin the yarn, and then the larger portion down here. This will add mass to it, so this will help it spin. Russians spin very fast, but for a short period of time. Ooh, we could cast spells. Pretty close. Alright, so we have everything pretty much blocked in here. We're just going to refine the shape a little bit. We're going to back off the tailstock just to see how it's turning. Got a little vibration in it, but once we sand it out and bring that tip down, we might be okay. Going to burn in a line right here. Turn the speed down and we'll start sanding it. Yeah, that'll be gone. Right now we left mass on both sides so we can sand it out and do all the finishing stuff. Yeah, this taper is going to end here. It's going to be really sharp, but I want to get the whole thing sanded out first. Em, welcome in. Yeah, I have much more open tolerances, we'll put it that way. Now we're going to come to the front here. So I made this little collet out of TPU, so it's a flexible filament. It's got a tapered cone on the inside. This is a very typical shape for a Russian spindle. My dimensions are a little bit different in here than others. But most of my other spindles are my unique designs. You know, they start out from somewhere and then you refine and make them your own. I mean, I'll show you a Tibetan I've been working with. So a Tibetan has a whirl on it, so it's two separate pieces. And yeah, this is totally my design. Wanted something a little bit heavier. So yeah, so this one gets the boiled linseed oil, and then it gets a couple coats of varnish on it. So this is one coat. I'll buff it out from here and then put another coat on. But yeah. And here are two more examples of Tibetan. This is going to be a lower priced model. It's a little cherry whirl. And I was just playing with shapes on this. So maybe someday these will find their way out. We'll see. Start making custom spinning tops. Yeah, that'd be up my alley. So I was making these whirls. Something really simple, you know. I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be, you know, easy enough to do, you know. It's not a horrible shape. And then I realized if you slap two of them together, you have a freaking yo-yo. So, there we go. So I might change the shape a little bit so it's less yo-yo shape. Heck, I bet you could even put it together the other way and make a butterfly. Yeah. Take that, Duncan. So I have about a week and a half to be working on spindles, and then I want to have about a week. And so we're getting ready for a fiber show. But I also have earrings and magnets and some supplemented stuff as well. So I need to have some time to be playing with that stuff as well. I don't think I'm doing coffee cups for this show. flat spin. There we go. Let me grab some fiber. We'll do a little spinning on this. Hey, how's it going, Pete? Welcome in. Normally I do the sitting down, so bear with me. Put it down here. So this is wool. So sheep got a haircut. Then they carded it and washed it, so all the hairs are in the same direction. Little twist in there. So I'm putting twist into the fiber, then I'm just drafting it. So I'm putting the twist in with the spindle, and then I'm also using the spindle for storage. So I made a temporary cop here. Normally I'd move it down here and then fill this entirely up, but yeah, that's what they're for. So we made those out of, hello, another person with a B name. So those were cherry, and now we're going to move to hard maple. Hey Z, welcome in. Hey, not a problem. Well, that's how a supported spindle is used. Or like the Turkish here, they're suspended in air when they spin around. So you'll just have this dangling in midair. pattern, see how we're looking. Hello, welcome in. Hey, thank you. Yeah, I really enjoy the lathe. It's very relaxing. Hello, Ireland. Welcome in. All right, so we're just going to do the sanding. We're going to put some wax on it, and then we'll finish the top, and then come and finish the bottom as well. So yeah, these get sanded up to 220, and then we burnish it. Where the more expensive ones get sanded down to 600 grit. Helps me keep the prices down. Believe it or not, time is money. With these, they're either good or they're bad. There's really no fixing them. That one's good. All right, I'm going to back off the tailstock to see how it's turning. Looks good. So we'll move on to the next step. Just going to grab the story stick. It's got these black lines here. I'm just transferring them over. This beef with a hard maple is extremely hard. Oh yeah, she does. She's sanding right now. We work together for the most part. But she does a lot of layout work, a lot of sanding work, a lot of lasering. It is very much a team effort. Jesus, how's it going? Welcome in. So I've been trying to get her to work on the scroll saw for many years. I'm starting to break her down a little bit. She does some of the earrings, yeah. So we make a lot of teardrop earrings. So I'll blank these out. These have been tumbled already. And then we have a jig and you put them in the laser and then you laser them. What's that? Oh, you help make a lot of stuff. Yeah. We'll put the earrings together. And then I also make exotic wood earrings as well, depending on what woods I have. So when I ordered the exotic woods, hey George the cat, how's it going? Welcome in, welcome back. So when I buy exotic woods, they're thicker than what I need, so I'll get them resawed, and if they're thick enough, I'll make 1/4-inch thick things out of them. And then if they're littler than that, I will sand them down for needles. And if they're too thin for needles, I'll make earrings out of them. Oh, I'm doing much better. Cat scratch fever is horrible. I am immune compromised because I'm diabetic, so sometimes little things can really knock me down. But I'm feeling much better. Almost healed. Yeah, definitely. And then, yeah, I got back to work last week, but we got hit with a big wholesale order, so I had to get that done. So we warned her it might take 3 weeks, and we got it done in less than a week. Oh, around a week. Doesn't it? It sure does. Yeah, my wax sign looks like it says weigh now. Hey Mario, how's it going? Well, it is George the cat. I took this out twice now. Maybe the third time I'll mark this out. So we'll use this center finder. I think I have 4 different center finders over here. So we have the see-through green one. I really like this one. I think this is my 3rd one. They do break eventually. Then I got this wooden one that I made. Then I have this style here. This is usually for pen blanks. That way you have all that room to support what you're doing. Then I have a little keychain one, because why not? Where did I get the salmon from? A big box store. So around me, I get this from Menards. I hate to admit this, but I got my cash back from my Menards card, and we actually used it to buy groceries. So I bought groceries from Menards. So yeah, we got a frozen pork loin, we got a couple pizzas, some canned vegetables. I'm trying to think of what else we got. We don't do a lot of grocery shopping at Menards, but you can. That's the important. Yeah, this maple is really hard. Oh, Valentine's was nice. We worked all day. I think we went out for breakfast. Yeah, we went out for breakfast on Valentine's. Yeah. And then we went out for dinner the day after Valentine's, because, yeah. Don't need the crowds of people pretending to like each other. I think we shared a steak and eggs. A nice big sirloin. Eggs over easy. Rye toast. And then for the dinner, I'm not even sure. I think she had the fish and I had... Well, I take that back. I had prawns and sirloin, and she had prime rib and... I don't remember. Something else. I think she just might have had prawns and prime rib. When's the last time I drank water? I had some water this morning I had some water this morning. But I had 8 cups of coffee and, well, 4 cups of coffee. They're just really big. And I got some Kool-Aid here. So we'll see if we can salvage this one. Yeah, yippee hydration. Yeah, I don't make these on stream very often because a lot of them just don't turn out. But we need them, so. How long I've been doing YouTube? Probably... You know, this channel is only a couple years old, but I was doing videos probably back in 2007, 2008. And that's when I was making the more kind of scroll saw kind of stuff. Yep. Yeah. It's never really gone anywhere. You know, it's one of those things where, like, the business always has to come first. You know, and it gets frustrating. You bust your ass. Yeah, I took quite a chunk out of that. Yeah, that piece had a split in it. Well, I mark where the center is so I can keep everything in line. So I'm holding it in here in the center, so I'm trying to put in the center so it runs straight. Yeah. I did not just do that. That was part of the wood there. Oh, perfect. Should glad I put tape on the back there. That really worked. Alright. The wood that breaks will get burned in my fireplace. So everything gets used. So this is the largest diameter I need, and it's down here, so we'll mark it in, and then we're just, once the caliper slips over, we're on size. So if I can push it through. And if the wood is gonna break and have a split in it or whatever, I'd rather it happen right away. Because then you can just throw another one on. You don't have to waste all the time. machining something that's not going to turn out. Oh, with all the wood chips? I make fire starters out of the really fine stuff. This stuff here, I will use as mulch. Throw it in a mulch bed. Or I will also use it as kindling. You know, throw it in there to make the fire a little hotter. So I made that shape just so this piece of carbide has something to go into. This wood is really, really hard. And it would take a really long time to bring this carbide in here. Yeah, I try to use up as much of the wood as I can. So with burning, I'm in Wisconsin, so it's cold here. I have, I think, 2 more full barrels of wood scrap to bring home. We've been having a warm spell here, so we're not done with winter yet, so it will get burned. I mean, if I want to, I can burn a barrel in a day if I don't use any of the firewood. And I don't use it as a primary heat source. It's just nice to warm up the living room. Turn the heat down a little bit. Well, it depends how busy we are and what we're cutting out. I can fill up a barrel depending on what I'm making, within 3 days to a week, depending on what we're doing. You know, a lot of it is little stuff. A lot of it's like this kind of stuff. So it takes up space, but it doesn't take long to burn. So that would all be like the outsides of Turkish spindles. Let's make it some round whorls. But if I'm on the CNC machine, can get quite a bit of scrap. Yeah, we did have some very, very cold weeks this year. My brother did drop off about a face cord of wood. Well, the needles are actually for null binding, which came before knitting or crochet. I don't remember. So these are not shaped yet or sanded, so they're rather large. So you'd have yarn coming out of the back here, and then you would actually be making a series of knots. So null binding is one of those things that I've done it a few times. I'm not really good at it. I haven't devoted enough time. I'd have to look at a tutorial video even to get started on it. But we do make them for people who teach. And since I'm making it out of, well, not really waste, but I'm making it out of, spare material I had from something else, I don't charge a whole ton for them. So they're kind of attractive for that reason to a lot of people. No, I don't get very many splinters. I get more splinters cutting down the wood to throw on the lathe than I do on the lathe itself. But I'm only touching it when it's already on round. Yeah, splinters happen. It's a rarity though. I don't work with wenge a lot. I've come into sometimes you get a piece that's very splintery to begin with. No, you just go to the store and you get these really cute little flowers, and they come in these little glass tubes. There we go. That's nice. I always thought of myself more of I could make an awesome dugout. How do you test your work? I just did. So that's the whole purpose of putting it into the bowl and spinning it. I'm making sure that it's spinning good. Nice and balanced. And then I do spin on them as well. Yeah, I really enjoy spinning yarn. I spin a lot of yarn. I test every single one of them. And after I put a finish on them again, I will test them again. And then I test them for a third time when we are packaging them as well. So. Yeah, when I do fiber shows, I am spinning pretty much all day at the festivals. I do a lot of demoing. Now, don't get me wrong, there's spindle makers out there that don't spin. I mean, if they have a partner that spins, that can test things and help them out, that's fine. But I find there's a lot of them out there that are just not very balanced. They're pretty because they're made by woodworkers. They're not very functional. I know they look like a simple thing. I'm not saying they're a difficult thing, but there's more to them than you would think. And there's a lot of refining too. You know, I do a lot of test things. I just kind of grow off that. I'm in Wisconsin, so I got that crazy Midwestern accent. Not quite Minnesotan, not quite Upper Michigan, but it's there. If I went overseas, I'd be telling everybody I was Canadian. All right, have a good day. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate it. How often do you touch up your work tools? Well, I did sharpen these before I started today. If I feel they're not cutting well, I'll touch them up real quick. So these are primarily Robert Sorby's that are made in Sheffield, England. They have very nice steel. They hold an edge for quite a while. So I'll probably touch up my my roughing gouge and my spindle gouge. I'll probably touch these up probably once more today. But the skews tend to keep their sharpness for a little bit longer. I do have to order some more inserts for this guy. I'm on my last one right now. I suppose I could try sharpening them. I never did. Some people do. I think I'm cheap. I don't use a lot of carbide, but for that instance, I think it's worth it. Right. Well, my diamond hone that sits in here is not in here. That's a great thing. Gotta think if I was sharpening or anything. Right? What's the point of having places where things can be if they're not going to be there? I do much better now putting things back. I'm not sure where it is. Yeah, usually, when we got shows coming up, I'm so busy that things tend not to get put away, which sucks because it's nothing worse than looking for stuff. Yeah, and as far as sharpening goes, I have a low-speed grinder and I use CB on wheels. When I originally bought that system, I was working outside. Keep set in your jacket pocket. Ain't a bad idea. I just looked at my apron, but it wasn't in there. Yeah, so I do spindle work pretty much day in, day out, which gets confusing because I am making spindles. I have a confession to make. I don't even own a bull gouge. How embarrassing is that? I do have a larger set of carbide as well. So if I really need to core something, I think I'm doing okay. You know, I'll make these. These are little bowls for supported spindles. That one's not safe. You get the idea. You know, now I've got a bigger commercial space where, you know, I would have room to let things season and, you know, store a bunch of blanks. Kind of busy doing this stuff, you know? I mean, I'm sure I could sell the poop out of a yarn mold. So I do a lot of supporting with my hands because these are thin. the speed down, we'll start sanding this out. Like I said earlier, this gets 150 and then 120 and then 220. And then it'll get burnished from there. The more expensive ones get sanded down to 600 grit. These will get a wax and then a mineral oil finish on them. The more expensive ones will get a boiled linseed oil finish and then several coats of lacquer over the top. Oh, no. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, there's just no room to put a steady rest on this little stuff. Not at all. You know, these are pretty thick compared to a lot of stuff I do. I mean, I turn a lot of these. Where, yeah, you need to support them. Otherwise, you get a little chatter in there and they go in the garbage. And there's a lot of reminding people that this is not a metal lathe. It's not gear driven, it's belt driven. I'm not saying it wouldn't suck if something bad would happen, but it'd be a lot worse on a metal lathe. So this flap wheel used to be about that big around. So I'm giving it back to you. 3M stopped making these, 5 years ago? So we had a whole bunch that, were slightly smaller, and the girlfriend's been cutting down the flap wheels on these. Yeah, so they're a little bit bigger than that. She keeps working on it. So these are a hair bigger than what I ordered. So they almost fit into my 4-jaw chuck. So we'll do some custom fitting there. Ah, the sound of maple in the morning. Alright, so you can see that we have discoloration here. And we got a wormhole. Which is pretty typical for hard maple. When you start seeing this stuff, you know that there's going to be a wormhole in there somewhere. So we'll see how deep it goes. I doubt it's going to be very much. I could always fill it with super glue. Yeah, it's pretty much gone. What? Would you be willing to make some glue? Just dump out the ice. What? I haven't. Yeah, I haven't. So yesterday we have I guess a tall, like college dorm room refrigerator here. And I slid in a dozen eggs yesterday and I hit the temperature setting. So it became a freezer overnight. That was a little oops. Yeah, there's just no wind in that. can turn the speed down and sand. Ever thought about making a pattern rest and a collar for your chisels to follow the pattern? I actually have a Vega duplicator and a different lathe. I just don't have it set up again. I got the lathe out, I got a stand on it, I got the duplicator sitting there, I just don't have it hooked up quite yet. But yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, these are something that I don't make all the time. For some reason, they become popular really recently. And then I would do use the duplicator, and then I would make blanks, which would be, you know, 9/10 of the way there. It'd be something that you would chuck up and then just work on the ends, you know, everything would be on size. Little sanding and away you go. So we got 7 of them done today. Let's do one more, and then we'll switch over to making some Turkish spindles. Yeah, might be something to look into, definitely. So I'm going to mark the center over here. You can't see. I have the live center in there very lightly. I'm going to back it out, bring it up to speed, and then bring the live center in. So I'm trying to get it to center itself. Because if you just mark the center here and throw it on there, it will be the center of this plane, not necessarily the center of the entire thing. So now it's got a little wiggle here, but once I bring the sides down, it should be good. Now it's just really important for these to be straight. Yeah, that would make sense. You are the best.
This is a really good stir stick.
It is.
And I washed out your
Fluids. Lay out some spindles for me and sand, that's great. That'll work fine. I mean, I got plenty to do here. Oh, I'm supposed to tell you that you're amazing. But you already know that. There's not a lot of women out there that would make some crystal light for their boyfriend. Most of them just cheat on you. Yeah, so we're in pretty good shape for the show coming up. All the Turkish spindles are already accounted for. Well, you did it though. Congratulations. I said congratulations. You got it. All right. Don't get me wrong, we've got some other flap wheels that we got off Amazon. They're not the same though. But yeah, for the Turkish spindles, just a flap sander to round over the edges. Does a really good job. Thank you. Let's see if we can get some more people in here. Huh? Yeah, this one's got too much vibration in, but we'll try it. Actually, that's not bad at all. Good. All right, we're gonna switch over and start making some Turkish spindle shafts. That looks a little better on my side. All right. So we're still turning hard maple. So I'm just gonna grab my story stick here. Gonna transfer over some lines. Excuse me. All right, so we're shooting for 8-inch shafts here. Actually, I think I'm going to touch this one up. Thank you. I appreciate that, Melissa. So I'm just marking the cutting edge. Toe pick. Let's see if we can spin around here. Oh, that's pretty getting view right there. So I'm going to be grinding this at a 45-degree angle. Because I'm using CBN wheels, I can use this gauge. Set my angle of my table there. I know, that was pretty exciting, right? Ooh, mucho better. So for these, I use these wrenches as calipers. You could call them spanners if you want to. That works for me. I used to turn those for a living. Turning wrenches. So prior to this whole spindle thing, I was an assembler at Oshkosh Truck. So I put military vehicles and cement trucks together. And then prior to that, I worked in a bindery making magazines. And I ran a drum stitcher. So I made magazines that had staples in them. I was the first operator there for quite a few years as well. Yeah. This is pretty much my bread and butter. I bet I could make a really nice spindle for the top of a lidded box. So this one has walnut arms. Nice. Look at that. Yeah, I make a bunch of different variety of drop spindles. Yeah, so the taper on these are very important. You're making a wedge to wedge the arms into. Arms are red heart. So I cut these out on the scroll saw. So as far as the Turkish spindles go, I have 5 different shaft sizes. This is the smallest. That's the largest. So the little ones are for thin yarn, the big ones are for thick yarn. little bit of a vibration on the very end there. See it? A little bit of vibration. So rather than making an 8-inch shaft, we're going to make a smaller one. Let's go 6-inch. So Vicky just turned on the lights on our layout station. So I might have some Turkish spindles to cut off in the near future. Let's see. So making rather large, really thin shafts it's a little tricky. I've just been making them for a very long time. The arms on this are Bacote. Which comes from Mexico. I'm not sure how far down the tree grows. You know, it probably goes down into Central America. It's a very pretty wood. It's on the heavyish side. It's got really pretty grain. The piece I just showed you isn't the prettiest in the world, but still pretty. Alright, quite a bit of vibration in this one. Not a big deal. Do I do any snakewood or black walnut? I'm not familiar with snakewood. I make little ones out of black walnut. I won't make longer ones because this thin a material, I'm worried that they would warp over time. I'll make them out of like, well, this piece is, I'm going to cut in half and make two smaller ones. This is Vera wood, aka Argentina Ligamente. This stuff turns really nice. It's really super heavy. Very small Harry Potter ones. Look up snakewood and ironwood. And I made them out of blackwood and ebony. Holly. Coco Bolo. I've made some out of Wangay, but man, that is some hard stuff. Hard splintery stuff. And I made them out of like Spectre plies, so I've made some birch ones as well. But it's not splintery? Good. Speaking of this stuff, we'll make a Purple Heart one. This piece of Purple Heart's not bad. Sometimes it's splintery. So the mill I use, they had some Kingwood a couple years back. Oh, I miss it. So it's a rosewood. It's kind of pinkish purpley, and it's got a really pretty grain to it. I have not. Yeah, this piece of Purple Heart it's dying on me. There's no way. It was a noble attempt. Try this piece of Paduke. I do like the idea of burgundy. Yeah, right now my wood room is pretty decimated. Don't have a lot of exotics in stock. I got a lot of exotic spindle already made for the next couple shows, so. How's Roger doing today? Hello, Uruguay. Hey Billy, how's it going? Welcome in. So that's African Padouk, which is the same wood as this. So this is zebra wood. There is a wormhole in it. So we'll probably get a 6-inch out of here, hopefully. We could fill the wormhole in with super glue. I really prefer not to do that. Way down there. Yeah, we should be fine. So I really don't buy exotic woods for shaft material. These are just, you know, I buy a piece of wood this thick. I only need this much, so I have that. You know, which sometimes, you know, if somebody requests something, I can cut a big piece of wood down, but then I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot. Because that piece of wood that I could make, let's say, $100 out of, I can make $20 out of it now. That is pretty, though. Especially towards the bottom. So this will get sanded and waxed in the next step. All right, this is a piece of Vera wood, or Argentinian ligamente. It's very heavy. It's not the easiest wood in the world to work with. If you want dull tools, this is your friend. No, don't be a turd. Apparently there was a knot in that. Let's go back to hard maple for a while. Let me lick my wounds on that one. So I noticed that we had a bunch of vibration on the top, so I brought it as far down that way as I could. haven't looked. Let's see. So I'm shooting for 1,300 followers, and right now I'm at 12,937. Getting so close. So close. Alright guys, we're gonna finish up this one and we're gonna call it a stream. Maybe I'll do one more. Let's see if we can get 3 hours out of this stream. This one is black walnut. right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. I really don't have a set schedule for live streaming, so if you want to make sure to catch the streams, the best thing to do would be subscribe and click the bell so you get notified when I come online. Other than that, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.